back to the shop. I'm Chris with M7 Metalworks. Today I'm going to do a video, just an update on the forge video. I've had so many guys question the size of the fire pot, the dimensions, and you know, I was thinking in that video that I'd given those dimensions, but probably not. That's probably why I had so many questions about it. But I figure it's high time to start answering some of those questions. So that's kind of what I'm going to do today. And not just answer questions on the fire pot, but we're going to just do a quick review of the entire forge. And including this exhaust hood, my exhaust hood is very unique. I've not ever seen a coal forge, someone who uses a coal forge use something like this. And so we're going to take a look at the exhaust hood as well, which is a power exhaust. So it's very different than anything I've seen. But also, we'll go over the forge and we'll talk a little bit quickly about it. It won't be a long video, should be pretty short and sweet, but hopefully it helps some of you out. I never built the forge with intentions of other people repeating exactly what I built, and that's probably why I never gave dimensions, or if I did, the intention wasn't so that you could repeat exactly what I did. It's really just a matter of giving you some ideas and maybe spark some imagination with some of you that might be thinking about doing something like this. So let's get started. Okay, guys. So my forge is a little bit unique in that I don't have a clinker breaker. I just have simply a grill. That's 3/8 inch steel. And I just cut that real rough with my plasma cutter. I had just received my plasma cutter, I believe, when I built this. And was still learning, but still it did a pretty good job. So the depth of this is 5 inches. So from this lip to that base is 5 inches, thereabouts, okay? From here to here is 12 inches, and from here to here is 11 inches. From here to here, that dimension right there is 4.5 inches, and from here to here is approximately 7 inches. Okay, so you've got your dimension 12. This here is a depth of, I believe it was 7.5 from here to here, and then 7 inches across approximately, and then again 7.5. Your dimensions from here to here, 4.5, again 7.5 approximately, and then 11. So those are your dimensions. You weld that all up. I've got a plate welded to the base of this, hole cut into it. My tweer pipe is welded to that, and then this is lifted off. These little spacer tabs are what my plate sits on, and they keep the plate approximately 1 inch. There's a 1 inch space between the base of that plate and this, the top of this plate. So that's 1 inch right there that takes up, and that allows for the air to come up through the tweer pipe and basically go through all of these little holes and slots. And that air runs through my coal. So this is coke now. It's obviously it's burned the coal off, and so now it's just coke. But you can see it's plenty large enough. People may ask or wonder, does some debris fall down in here? Yes, it does. That's the whole intent of it. And so I typically, before I start a fire in the pot, I pull this out and I kind of sweep everything down to the tweer pipe. If you look at the base of that tweer pipe, this here's just simply a tractor exhaust tip, and so I just kind of give it a kick with my foot, and that empties the ash into the pot. So a very simple setup. Of course, you can see the blower, and then there's the underside of the fire pot. Nothing complex or difficult about that. I think it's a very basic, easy thing. Now, on the table, I added that piece of angle iron there when I built this table, and that's because of the cutout here, and it's not close to the edge where it's going to have a lot of support. So that angle iron stiffens up that table a little bit, because that table isn't super thick. I can't remember how thick the metal is now, but that's just sheet metal, and so it's not very thick. The table, you know, the thickness of these walls and the legs and all of that, none of that is really important. I used what I had. In this case, these came from a weight bench. The legs came from a weight bench. And these pieces of angle iron, they just came from the scrapyard. It's what they had. If they'd had something different, I would have used something different, but this is what they had. So this is what I used. I just put flanges. I welded flanges onto the fire pot, and that way when you sit that table or that fire pot down into the table, obviously it doesn't just continue to fall through the table. That gives it something to rest on. And then I did have I had another vise, post vise mounted to this. I sold that, have sold that post vise because frankly I didn't need two of them mounted to my forge table, and I've already got this one mounted, which is a family heirloom. It's something that my father-in-law gave me. It's my first post vise, and I'm not about to sell that one. So I sold the one that I had purchased, and then I bought this one over here, which I'll leave a link. If you haven't seen the build, or I shouldn't say build, but the getting back into service, that massive post vise, that's about a 200-pound vise, and it's 8-inch jaws. It's crazy big. But you know, with this vise being real close and this vise being right at the forge, I really didn't need that one. So I'll cut these tabs off eventually and kind of get that out of my way. But it does give me a little more room on the table without having that other vise there too. So that's good. So I've got a tank of oil here. These are, again, just something I picked up at the scrapyard. They were cheap. So that's filled with oil, and of course I can pull the lid off of that as well. And then that's filled with water. Just a little laver there. My blower, it's again something my father-in-law gave me. First blower I ever had. I welded this little piece of steel on after I built the table, and it just gives me a place to hang my some of my tongs. So now let's take a look at the exhaust. This is my exhaust. It was for welding, and I modified it. It used to have a fan that went up in there. It was just a little squirrel cage fan that went up in that, and I'm trying to get that where the light isn't so bad and you can see up in there. So hopefully you can see where the vent run attaches. And so you used to have a squirrel cage that went up in there. The problem with that particular system is when that smoke rises and goes up into that exhaust hood, it would inundate the fan and the motor with soot and smoke, and of course excessive heat, which greatly accelerated the death of that particular fan. So now what I've got, we'll just walk right outside onto my porch, is I've got that. So that is my fan and my fan motor, and this is simply from a grain bin. It's a grain bin fan, so it's the housing is enclosed, and the fan is a one-horse fan, one-horse motor, sorry. And so now that exhaust out here, and it's got a little flapper in there. I'm not sure how well I'm going to be able to show you that, but got a few leaves stuck in there. So go back inside. So when I flip the switch, so I've got a switch right over here. Now this is just above that big 200-pound vise. So I flip this switch. You can can hear that thing kick on. So that's kind of how that works. The smoke then rises from the fire pot, straight up into the exhaust fan, goes out, and straight outside. So I hope that makes sense to you. Anyways, that's a very unusual exhaust. I would say the only downside to that type of an exhaust fan is that if I open up my slider, sorry, I've got other projects going on, guys, my apologies for having things in the way, but if I open up the garage doors and the slider, I can get a pretty healthy wind, crosswind going through here, and it can pull my smoke. And instead of my smoke just rising straight up, because this exhaust fan will pull it straight up, instead of it rising straight up, it can waft over, and it can kind of get the shop all smoky and stuff if I'm not careful. So I do have to be careful of that. You know, I like to have the doors open a bunch, particularly in the summer. Even though it's not hot in here in the summer, it's insulated, but it's still, I enjoy the light and the breeze, and that doesn't work so well with this particular forge. So guys, that's my forge. I hope you enjoyed the tour of the forge and the forge hood. I really enjoy it. I love forging. I wish I had more time to do it. With work and some of the things I've got going on here, it does keep me from being able to forge as much as I like, but I mean, we all like to just sit around and forge every day. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll make sure I put some links throughout this video. So of the forge build, I'll probably link at least the part 1, and then you can look at part 2 or 3 or whatever would interest you. I'll also make sure I put links to the big vise back here behind me. And so if those types of things interest you, guys, do me a favor, go down, hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the little bell, turn it gray so that you can be reminded when I make a new video. I do these things strictly for you guys, for entertainment purposes. I'm not making any money. Nobody sponsors me, none of that kind of stuff. I'd love to make some money. You want to send me money, go for it. But I don't do it for that, obviously. I do it because I enjoy it. And I enjoy recording kind of the history of some of the things that I do. You know, one day my children will hopefully be able to watch some of this stuff, you know, when I'm long gone, or maybe my grandchildren, I don't know. So anyways, guys, I'm Chris with M7 Metalworks. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next video, God willing. Thanks.